Hello, all. It's Jason checking in with the weekly update, the Showcase Miami weekly update of the real estate market. Usually, we're talking about what neighborhoods are selling. Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? What's going on with the months of inventory? But today, I'd like to mix it up a little bit and talk more about what we've been seeing lately is seller financing. As Gary Keller, the co-founder of Keller Williams Realty, always says, where we work, he says there's the market of the moment. So the market of the moment recently has been seller financing. We've seen a lot of those deals. As a matter of fact, we've seen 2 or 3 deals in the last few months that were seller financing, meaning the buyer did not get a loan through the bank. Instead, the seller, who had lots of equity, they acted as the bank, giving a loan to the buyer. The question is, why would a seller do that? Why would a buyer do that? So let's go ahead and first show you the actual properties that just traded with us here in Miami through seller financing, no bank loan. Thank you, Zyrell. If you can play 50 Biscayne, I believe it's unit 5204. So here's the actual video of the property. It's right near walking distance to the Kaseya Center where the Miami Heat play NBA basketball team. You see a 52nd floor right here. Beautiful views. This is the view from your balcony. You can see Miami Beach over there to the east. You can see Bayside right down below you, Key Biscayne 2.5 miles away. I mean, this is in the center of everything. You see the cruise ships right there going in and out of the government cut, the Port of Miami. A very amazing place. This is a 52nd floor. Believe it or not, though, this property was lingering on the market for quite a while. Even with that view, 2-bedroom, convertible to a third because it had an office space, if you will. Brickell City Center, Whole Foods Market, so much going on around there. So why wouldn't it sell? Well, the seller, the comps were at about 850, 875,000, the comparable sales in the building. Therefore, there were some issues. We had offers coming in and it wasn't appraising for the price that buyers and sellers were agreeing on. The bank said, no, it's worth less based on the recent sales. So seller said, you know what? We don't owe anything on the property, Jason. We would be open to seller financing if you think that would get us more offers and get the deal closed and overcome the bank appraisal hurdle, if you will. So we said, okay, yes, what terms would you consider, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? And they said, we would consider 30-year amortization, 3-year balloon payment, and then the interest rate that they agree on. So that's something that, well, in this case, our sellers, I think, were smart because they had a very competitive interest rate on the loan, interest-only payments for 3 years, a balloon payment in 3 years, 25% down. And so their financing would beat the overall market's financing right now. So it made it attractive for a buyer who was concerned about the higher interest rates versus what they were a few years ago. They're like, wow, this is a very attractive rate that the seller is offering me instead of going through bank financing. Another advantage for the buyer is less paperwork, less underwriting to see if they qualify for the property. Those are some of the advantages that the buyer has. So what were the advantages for the seller? The seller advantages were that they had a certain deal. They didn't have to worry if it appraised. Number 2, they didn't have to worry if the buyer would get approved by the lender. Number 3, not every seller has the equity in the property that they can offer seller financing and be the bank, whereas these sellers could. And the buyer said, yes, it's a competitive rate, I'll do it. So at the end of the day, the said, yes, we want that deal. We want that interest rate that you're offering, Mr. Seller. And we got the deal done. They moved from Pennsylvania down here to Miami, and it was a win-win. Both the seller and the buyer were very happy with the outcome. Here's another example. Zyrell, if you could play this one that we just closed, also seller financing. So this was a 2.2 acre property in the Redland singular, not plural. I used to think it was the Redlands, but it's the Redland. Had their single family residence on there, nice little bungalow. They had a nursery. They were making all kinds of products, fragrances there. They had a koi lagoon. They had amazing outdoor area there with the pagoda for meditation retreats, that type of thing, yoga retreats. Really good energy, good vibe around this property. 2.2 acres of land with a nice little bungalow. Here you had the nursery that was being rented out for $3,500 a month. They had a little laboratory to make their fragrances here. 2 buildable lots, 100,000 square feet, 2.2 acres. And we were the second realtor. It had been listed with another realtor before. Realtor was not able to sell the property. So they said, okay, let's see if you guys can sell it, Jason and team. So we took on the challenge. We had, I'll tell you, we had 4 or 5 offers on this property. The issue was that the buyers weren't moving forward when they saw what the banks were appraising it for. And we came up with the same proposal. Mr. Seller, would you consider seller financing like our folks just did over at 50 Biscayne? And they said, you know what? We'll do it. We want to get moving with this property and move on. So same thing, same terms even as the previous one we did. The interest rate was more attractive than you could get on the open market with a mortgage. The buyer recognized that, and it's flexible in terms of course, the interest rate. It's flexible in terms of the down payment. If the buyer doesn't perform, if they put their 25% down payment down or whatever it might be, and they don't keep up with their payments, then they risk losing the property back to the seller. So that's what's in it for the seller if the buyer doesn't perform. But ideally, of course, you want a win-win. Both seller and buyer are happy. Seller gets paid their balloon payment for the balance of the mortgage in 3 years, and you move on from there. So 2 examples from just us in the last 2 or 3 months of seller financing being a solution to getting a property sold. Keep in mind, this would be less likely 2-3 years ago when you had very, very low interest rates in the 2 to 3%, because it didn't matter. There wasn't such an advantage for seller financing in terms of the rates. But today, it's more attractive to have these lower rates in light of what you can get in the overall market. So I just wanted to share that with you. If you have any other questions, comments, if you think someone might be interested in seller financing, you have more questions, you have any topics you'd like to cover about the Miami real estate market, would be happy to answer your questions. So please call or text me at the number behind me, 786-326-8115, my personal cell phone, and I'll be happy to help you and give you any information you need. Until then, please drop us a like, a follow. We'd love to engage with you more and answer some more of your questions. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.